reading. Welcome to my blog.stampwithelaine.com and welcome to week 4 in my Countdown to Christmas series. I have 12 projects published every Wednesday, which began on 28th September and will run through to 14th December 2016. Today we're going to be making this card. We're going to be using the Jolly Friends stamp set, which coordinates with the Jolly Hat Builder Punch, bundled together to save 10%. I've also used the labeler alphabet. This is fantastic because you can customise your sentiments as they have extra letters in the set. So they're a double of almost every vowel, and there's double R's and S's and T's. For the paper we're using a card base in crumb cake. This is half an A4 sheet cut at 5 7/8 by 8 1/4, and it's been scored at 4 1/8 with the long side at the top and folded in half. In centimetres, those measurements are 14.9 by 21 centimetres, scored at 10.5. Some scraps of Whisper White cardstock as well as crumb cake, some designer series paper. This is the Warmth and Cheer designer series paper stack. They measure 6 by 6 and are ideal for making Christmas cards. In centimetres, that's 15.2 by 15.2. There are 4 each of 12 double-sided designs, and they're just fabulous. I just cut the designer series paper into half so that it measures 3 by 6. In centimetres, that would be 7.6 by 15.2. The inks I'm using are Cherry Cobbler, Garden Green and Chocolate Chip. We're also using a bit of this Baker's Twine. It comes from the Baker's Twine Trio Pack, which contains 3 spools in Cherry Cobbler, Garden Green and Gold, and it's 25 yards in each spool. Amazing. Here's a little tip when you're using your punch so that you can stamp all the images in the same place to match your punch. I've inserted a piece of cardstock that goes all the way down into the bottom of the punch, and then you punch out the hat, the bobble and the cuff. Then put double stack dimensionals on the back, and don't take the backing paper off because that's going to be your template for placing the stamps on your block. So you can see I'm dropping the stamps with the flat side up into the punched out bits, and you can feel it when it's in the right place for the punch outs. And then take a block, this is block D, and make sure that the bottom of your block is flush with the bottom of the punched out card. And then what you do is you pick up the stamps, and then it's all on your block. Bring in my foam mat and my scrap piece of Whisper White, and I'm going to ink up my stamp. Now I want the hat in green, and if you put your ink pad right on the edge, it should miss the other stamp. Swap ink pads and get the Cherry Cobbler out and stamp the bobble. Now remember which way your punch is. So you want the hat on the bottom left. Make sure your block, the bottom of your block, is in line with the bottom of your cardstock, and then stamp. See how perfectly that lines up? Ink up the mousse from here, chocolate chip ink, and we're also going to stamp the scarf in Garden Green, and I'm just going to cut that out by hand. Unfortunately there's no punch for it. Mousse that by hand as well. So angle your scissors at a 45-degree angle and turn your cardstock and not your scissors. And if you just leave a little border all round your image, then it won't show up any mistakes. If you cut on the line and you cut a little bit off, then it will be really quite obvious. But if you do it like this with leaving a little border, it won't. Now to cut off the scarf. The mat and my scrap piece of Whisper White. Now I've used the label alphabet to spell out Merry Christmas. Pun on words. And although the stamp set recommends that you only use an A block, which is the tiniest block, I couldn't be bothered to stamp the letters individually, so I've just used a long block. It doesn't have to be totally accurate. It then adds to the fact that it's handmade. And same with here. I just snip the letters off at different angles. I need to trim that down a bit because it's too wide. If you've got a labeler punch, that's fine, but if you don't, you can still cut it by hand. So I'm just only going to use this labeler punch as a guide. You can use it and cut it by hand if you want. I'm doing this by eye, so it's not a precise measurement. So roughly cutting off about an inch off the top. I think I'll use this side instead. I've cut off about 2 feet of all 3 colours from the trio pack. That's probably roughly about 61 centimetres. Now I'll show you a little trick. If you're working with all 3 bits of baker's twine so that it stops it from unravelling, just tie a knot in both ends. Just wrap it round your cardstock as normal. Allow enough on the other end to work with in a bow. Then tear and tape on the back of that. And I'm not using Tombow this time because it's designer series paper. Sometimes the glue marks will show on the front. So I'm just going to pop that there. I'm going to lay my letters on their backs. Glue dots on the back of the letters. Start from the middle so that I can space them properly. Now I'm going to put a dimensional on the back of the hat, but I'm going to glue this bit, the base of it, onto the mousse. Pop a dimensional on there for the cuff. So that's raised, and a tiny bit for the pom-pom. forgot to put one on his head. Then glue his scarf down. Glue on the back of the Christmas. Last thing to do is just trim off the baker's twine. There you go, all finished. I hope you've enjoyed today's tutorial. If you like it, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe or share on Facebook, and my grateful thanks if you do. If you're watching from YouTube, you'll find the list of supplies I use below this video in the Show More section, with direct links to my online store. They'll also be listed on my blog.stampwithelaine.com. You can find me on Facebook, Pinterest or Instagram. Thanks for joining me today. I'll be back soon with episode 5. Thanks for watching.